Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and it's a pleasure to take a call on this bill. And it's difficult to sit on this side of the House and listen to discussions about this matter when we know that in government the National Party continually played politics with this issue. The National Party continually played politics with this issue. This whole issue of regulation could have been resolved if the National Party had been prepared to take a responsible approach in opposition to looking at this. But instead, it became a political football. And I think it's useful to refer, here to an email from the 13th of August 2007 from Michelle Beckett, who at that time was the Executive Director of Natural Products New Zealand. The email reports on a meeting with Tony Ryle, which she described as greatly pared down. I'm not quite sure what that means, but she said that Mr Ryle, quote, quite clearly previously indicated his inflexibility on the issues related to natural products. Ms Beckett said that she and her colleagues left the meeting with a feeling that the natural products industry was, quote, of little importance to the new leadership of the National Party, that was Mr Key, and that this sector is seen only as a political football to be leveraged to any political advantage, regardless of the consequences to what has been a growing export industry. That is the truth, Mr Speaker, that on this issue the National Party has no credibility whatsoever. So they come to the House today with a bill which the Labour Party will support to Select Committee because our position has been consistent, Mr Speaker, because our position has been that we want regulation in this sector. We want New Zealand companies to be able to develop their products, to grow their exports in what is an area that is undoubtedly a growth area. This all could have been done as part of a comprehensive arrangement that involved a Trans-Tasman regulator, that involved a comprehensive regulatory framework. It all could have been done 5 years ago if the National Party hadn't used this industry as a political football. The Minister knows that. The Minister knows when he introduces it that the credibility of his party is in tatters on this issue, Mr Speaker. A regulatory regime for natural products is a good thing. These are products that are used by many New Zealanders. It's important that we know that they are safe, that they do what they say they are going to do, and that consumers have good, clear information about them. We also want to send this bill to a Select Committee so that the public can have a say on this issue, so that they can understand what is being done here, so that the industry can ensure that the rules are both fair but also protect the health and safety of New Zealanders. We think that should come first, the health and safety of New Zealanders, but we also believe that New Zealand needs to have the ability to understand what product New Zealanders need to have the ability to understand what the products are that are in front of them. Mr Speaker, we do have some concerns about this bill. We have some concerns about the way in which this arrangement will work alongside, as the Minister said, the arrangements that have been put in place in terms of a joint regulatory framework with Australia. And I want to refer to the regulatory impact statement for the bill, Mr Speaker, which indicates that there are elements of this proposal being put on the table by the government today that will be problematic in terms of progressing a joint regulatory body. Now, the government on the other side of the House is very keen to be able to say that they are supporting a New Zealand-based regulatory body for natural health products. But the truth is that they have put in the arrangements with the Australians the same 5-year window that the Labour Party had in place in 2007 that will enable natural health products to become part of that wider Trans-Tasman arrangement. So should that be the government's plan in the future? Should that be, and who knows where the National Party will go on this issue, Mr Speaker? They've flip-flopped around so many times on this issue, it's quite difficult to know. But if they decide to go with a Trans-Tasman arrangement that includes natural health products, what this regulatory impact statement is telling us, Mr Speaker, is that that may well be problematic. And so we need to be very careful as we work through this proposal as to whether those problems are so great that it will actually provoke some difficulty in the future for New Zealanders. Another issue, Mr Speaker, that I think all of us will be very keen to look at when we get into the Select Committee process on this is the question of cost. And Minister Coleman mentioned the issue in terms of cost. Well, there's two aspects to that issue I want to mention briefly, Mr Speaker. One of those is the question of cost to the country, the cost of setting up an independent regulator outside of MedSafe. The government on the other side of the House likes to trumpet how it's reduced bureaucracy and reduced costs in government. Here we are setting up a new agency. We will be looking very closely at the best way in which such an agency can be set up, how it will be able to deliver its outcomes and be cost effective at the same time. The other element of cost, Mr Speaker, is around the question of cost to the industry. And again, I want to make some reflection off the regulatory impact statement, because it does make clear that it's actually very difficult to work out what the cost of regulation will be on the industry, and particularly at a per product level. And so the estimates that underlie this paper, that give the reasons for why it is a cost-effective solution, are in fact, quite flimsy in many ways. And in fact, as the regulatory impact statement says, all of the estimates in this paper, in the papers that back up this bill, are provisional. And so it will be very important in this process to look at both the cost to the country in terms of setting up an independent regulator, but also the cost to the industry itself. And I think both of those matters need to deserve a significant piece of work by the Select Committee. So, Mr Speaker, from our point of view on this side of the House, we do find it difficult to stand here and look at these issues without reflecting on what has happened in the past. This side of the House has always been committed to a regulatory regime that works for New Zealanders. We will support this bill to the Select Committee because we believe regulation in this area is overdue and needed. But what we do not want to be able to go through again is the National Party flip-flopping its position around, playing politics with the natural health products industry. So we look forward to the debate on this bill, Mr Speaker, in the Select Committee. We want to make sure that all New Zealanders get a chance to have a say on this. But what we do not want to do is limit our options in the future for a Trans-Tasman regulatory agency. I know that there are those in this House, including my colleague Sue Keitchley, who feel very strongly about what a Trans-Tasman regulatory agency might mean to our sovereignty and our ability to make decisions. I respect that view. It has been consistently held by Sue Keitchley. My own view is there are benefits for New Zealand in a Trans-Tasman agency and benefits for those who wish to export their products. I don't want to see an overly bureaucratic regime, but I do think the future of these kinds of regulatory arrangements do lie in Trans-Tasman arrangements that protect New Zealand's sovereignty. That is completely possible, and the benefits for New Zealand and New Zealand consumers of access to more information, more expertise, access to more markets for our exporters are good benefits, and I do think they deserve to be investigated while ensuring that New Zealand's sovereignty is protected. So, Mr Speaker, we will support this bill to Select Committee, but with the reservations that I've outlined.
Dr Paul Hutchison.
Take a very short call.